Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer, and this is a story of how Ayn Rand changed my life. It all started in 2009. I had just moved to California and I really wanted to go to college, but I didn't have any money. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna look for a scholarship. So I went on the internet and I found this contest that you basically read a book and you might win $20,000 if you write an essay. Atlas Shrugged. Atlas Shrugged. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna give this thing a try, this Atlas Shrugged thing a try. And I was only a few pages in when I realized there was something weird about this book. I had to stop to process what was happening in this story. And the more I read, the more I realized I had stumbled upon something unknown. And then I finished the book and I was shook. And of course, after I finished the book, I was so inspired that I was like, this is it. From now on, I am a new woman. From now on, I am a selfish capitalist person. Yeah. So naturally, I did what many people who read an Ayn Rand book for the first time but still don't understand the philosophy quite well do. I got on my high horse. Ew, a poor person. What is this, communist Russia?
It's broken. Don't cry. You can have mine.
Communism. Communism. Free sample?
Free sample. Free.
Communism. Okay. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but low-key, I was kind of insufferable. Luckily, that only lasted a short while because soon after finishing Atlas Shrugged, I started reading some of Ayn Rand's nonfiction, which helped me understand her philosophy much better. And I was like, oh, so she's not against helping people. That makes more sense. And so I got off my high horse.
Goodbye, hi.
And I started using the philosophy to improve myself instead of using it to judge others. But yeah, I'm very ashamed to admit it, but at the beginning, like a lot of people, my understanding of Ayn Rand's philosophy was very limited. So for me, it was all about, oh yeah, you gotta be selfish and you gotta be capitalist. And I still didn't know that there was a lot more to the philosophy, and that just because she advocated for rational self-interest and capitalism, that didn't mean that she was against helping people. But more importantly, when I started reading Ayn Rand's nonfiction, I discovered that her philosophy has a lot more to offer than just a defense of capitalism and a rejection of altruism. But before we get into any of that, I'm going to try to explain to you why, out of all of the philosophies that exist in the world, why I chose objectivism. I think objectivism is the one philosophy that does the best job at creating a moral guide based on observing reality and fully understanding reality, instead of being based on a mythical tale or on some unproven theory somebody believes in even though they don't have any evidence for it. It's like this. Rand's philosophy looked at the world and its functions and said, okay, so this is how reality works. Things don't just happen. You cannot wish them into existence. And humans, in order to survive, must sustain themselves. But humans live long social lives, so there must be a proper way to go about procuring this subsistence. Is it by looting, lying, scamming, stealing? Well, not if you want to live with yourself and with your conscience. In the objectivist system, an individual chooses to be good for his own sake, for his own long-term self-interest, not because society might gang up on him if he gets caught doing something bad, or because he fears an invisible man in the sky will throw him into an oven after he dies. Objectivism tells you that you don't need a God or society to tell you what's good and what's bad, what you can and cannot do. Objectivism tells you that you are perfectly capable of answering those questions for yourself by using your mind. You as an individual are perfectly capable of differentiating between good or bad, moral and immoral, and in that way, you're perfectly capable of making the right choices and acting accordingly. But of course, there's a lot more to objectivism, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. Well, I'm not going to try to explain to you the whole objectivist philosophy. I'm just going to talk about the top 3 things about objectivism that have been most impactful in my life. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is the objectivist focus on happiness. You know, I grew up in a very Christian household where whatever you did, you had to do to please God. And you had to find some way to reconciliate your worship and honoring of God with living your own life. Like, you have to find some way to be happy by honoring God. But objectivism offered an alternative, which was you don't need any other reason to be happy other than yourself and your self-realization. And honestly, for some people, it might not be that radical, but for me, that I had never heard such an argument, it was very impactful. In the same way, society sometimes wants to tell you that you have to find some sort of happiness by sacrificing your values for the good of society. That if you are helping others, then that should be sufficient and that should bring you happiness. But how can that be when sacrifice literally means giving up your values? And values are what makes us happy. So how are we going to be happy if we're giving up our values? So yeah, Ayn Rand's focus on happiness and how to achieve it was really important to me, because obviously to achieve happiness, you cannot just go around following every whim and using others to your advantage. There is a proper way to go about achieving your values, and that's not it. The second thing from Ayn Rand's philosophy that has really helped me in life is that her focus on reason makes approaching life much less daunting. Rand's philosophy showed me that the world works in a very specific way, and we are not at the mercy of the whims of some unknown force. So when you understand that this is how the world works, this existence exists and reality is what it is, approaching life and problems becomes much more straightforward. When I want to change something about my life, I no longer wish it might happen, or I'm afraid that if I'm not good that I'll be punished or the karma will get to me. Those are not concerns anymore, because I know how to deal with reality, with what it's there. So if I have a problem, I'll use my mind to try to find the best solution for it. And knowing that reason is the way to go about things, I'm much more likely to express myself when I have a problem, to state my needs instead of wishing change comes about magically. Once you have this approach, once you understand this, you are much less likely to waste your own time with people that don't serve your purpose, and you're much less likely to engage in playing games with people or trying to do reverse psychology on people. It inspires you to be more straightforward because you want to deal with people's minds and try to reason with them. And honestly, even indulging in negative emotions, the natural negative emotions we all experience, that becomes a waste of time too. I mean, I still have negative emotions, but I'm much more well aware that I shouldn't dwell, and that it's up to me to change my situation. All right, and the final thing that I want to talk about today is that Ayn Rand's philosophy has helped me to get rid of a lot of unearned guilt. Because in this world, in this society, you're born and there's already somebody pointing the finger at you saying, oh my God, you have a privilege that X person out there does not have. There's always somebody that has it worse than you, and it's not your fault. You didn't cause it, but society has a way of making you think that you are somehow responsible, and therefore society tries to make you feel guilty for existing and for having it better than someone else out there in the world. I mean, this might sound extreme, but I feel like there are people out there who see a newborn baby, a little baby who has just been born, and the little baby's like wrapped in a blanket, and those people get triggered. They're like, that baby, how dare that baby have a blanket when there are babies out there in the world that don't have blankets? As if it was this baby's fault that there are other babies out there in the world that don't have blankets. I mean, the only thing that this baby did was to be born. Like, he had no say, and people are already pointing the finger saying this baby has privilege, you know. It's crazy, and that's the mentality that I came to reject thanks to Ayn Rand's philosophy. And of course it is horrible that there are people out there in the world that don't have their most basic needs. And of course it is proper for people who have the means and want to help. But that doesn't mean that it is people's moral duty to give up their own life and sacrifice their values to try to undo all the wrong in the world that they didn't cause in the first place. And actually there is a really good quote by Ayn Rand about this specific topic that I would like to share with you. It says, "Why is it moral to serve the happiness of others, but not your own? If enjoyment is a value, why is it moral when experienced by others, but immoral when experienced by you? If the sensation of eating a cake is a value, why is it a moral indulgence in your stomach, but a moral goal for you to achieve in the stomach of others? Why is it immoral for you to desire, but moral for others to do so? Why is it immoral to produce a value and keep it, but moral to give it away? And if it's not moral for you to keep a value, why is it moral for others to accept it? If you are selfless and virtuous when you give it, are they not selfish, ambitious when they take it? Does virtue consist of serving vice? Is the moral purpose of those who are good self-immolation for the sake of those who are evil?" I mean, everything you need to know is in that quote. In conclusion, Ayn Rand's philosophy has made me much more confident in my ability to deal with life in general. And I experience a lot less fear. For instance, I'm no longer afraid of somebody watching everything I do, and I'm much less afraid of people because I can use my mind to try to understand their motives, try to understand what drives them, and therefore be able to reason with them much better. My quality of life has significantly increased because now I understand how important it is on me to focus on keeping my values, on working to achieve new values, and having experiences that make me happy. The most important thing that I have learned from Ayn Rand is that the purpose of my life is for me to live it and to enjoy it. And yes, I took that from one of her quotes, which says, "The purpose of morality is to teach you not to suffer and die, but to enjoy yourself and live." So if you're following a moral code handed to you by your family, by society, by your friends, by your religion, ask yourself if the ultimate purpose of that morality is to bring you happiness, or to brainwash you into giving up your life for the sake of family, the state, God, or some other greater good. Anyways, that was it for this video. Do you guys like my shirt? It says "Shrugged." I wish I could show it off more during the video, but you know, the angle doesn't work. But yeah, that was it for this video. There will be another video very soon, so stay tuned and thank you for watching.